The storm started the moment she walked into his tiny bookstore, heels clicking like warning shots on the wooden floor, eyes sharp enough to cut through the dust-speckled air. Adrian looked up from reorganizing children's books, his daughter's drawings taped behind him like fragile reminders of a softer life. The woman in front of him didn't belong in such a quiet place. She looked like someone who lived inside skyscrapers and spoke in boardrooms where men, twice her age, trembled. She wasn't just beautiful. She was decisive, immaculate, and dangerous. "You're Adrian Hale?" she asked, her voice low but urgent. "Yes," he answered, trying not to stare. "How can I help you?" "You can pretend to be my boyfriend." The book he was holding slipped from his hand. She didn't smile. She didn't blink. "For one day," she added. "I'll pay whatever you want." He thought it was a joke. But then she stepped closer, and he noticed her hands shaking, minimally but enough. Powerhouse CEOs didn't tremble. Something was very wrong. "My name is Liana Cross, the Liana Cross, billionaire CEO of Crosstech. Ruthless negotiator." Tabloids wrote about her like she was carved from ice. Yet here she stood, asking him, a single dad, who'd left the corporate world after tragedy, for a role that made no sense. "Why me?" Adrian asked. "You don't even know me." Liana's jaw tightened for a moment. "I know enough." She pulled out her phone and swiped. A picture flashed, him at the grocery store, holding his daughter on his shoulders, both laughing. Another, him helping an elderly neighbor fix her fence. Another, him walking a stray dog home. He felt exposed in a way he hadn't expected. "You researched me?" "I needed someone believable," she said. "Someone who looks trustworthy. Someone who looks like he could love someone without pretending." He didn't know what to say. "Why do you need a fake boyfriend for a day?" "I need someone beside me at my ex's wedding." He froze. "Your ex?" "Yes, he's marrying my former assistant. And they expect me to show up alone, broken, humiliated." Her voice cracked on the last word. Tiny but real, like a hairline fracture in steel. "I won't give them that satisfaction." Adrian didn't like the pain in her eyes. He recognized it, the pain of betrayal, the kind that rewires your bones. "You could bring any man," he said gently. "Any model. Any actor. Why choose a stranger with a kid?" "Because you're not like them," she whispered. "You look like someone who can protect a person without announcing it," she exhaled. "And because my ex will underestimate you." "That matters. Why?" She swallowed. "Because I'm not going there to smile. I'm going there to end something." Before he could ask what, the doorbell jingled and his 9-year-old daughter ran in, backpack bouncing. "Daddy, I finished early," she chirped, then stopped, seeing the intense woman in front of him. "Hi," she squeaked. Liana softened instantly, dropping to one knee as if meeting royalty. "Hi, sweetheart." "I'm Liana." His daughter blinked. "You're pretty." "You're even prettier," Liana replied, making the girl blush. Adrian watched, stunned. The woman who terrified world leaders seemed to melt before a child. That should have been impossible. His daughter tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, is she your friend?" Liana's eyes lifted to his, and for a strange moment the question seemed to hang between them with impossible weight. He didn't know why, but his answer mattered. "Maybe," he said. She smiled, slow, reluctant, human. It was the first time he'd seen her look like something other than untouchable. "Please," Liana whispered so his daughter wouldn't hear. "Help me just one day." Adrian didn't trust her, but something in him stirred. Some old instinct that made him protect strangers who didn't ask for help. Except she had asked. And the truth was, he needed money. His bookstore was dying. His daughter deserved more. "What do I have to do?" he asked. Relief washed through her, quiet but devastating. "Just stay beside me," she said. "And don't let anyone touch me without my consent." "Does that happen often?" She didn't answer. Her silence did. The wedding was held at an estate so large Adrian felt like he'd stepped into a world that didn't want him. Liana wore a dress that didn't sparkle, it glowed. She didn't look like a woman attending her ex's wedding. She looked like a reckoning. But when they walked in, Adrian felt her hand tremble ever so slightly in his. "Do I squeeze back?" he whispered. "Only if you want me to breathe again," she whispered back with a barely there smile. Cameras turned. Whispers exploded. The bride's family stared. But it was the groom, Liana's ex, Marcus Hale, who froze mid-champagne sip. eyes narrowing in slow disbelief. He has the same last name as me, Adrian muttered. Unfortunate coincidence, Liana murmured. Marcus approached with a smile that was too sharp, too smug. Liana, he said, voice dripping with false warmth. You didn't tell anyone you were bringing a date. You didn't tell anyone you were marrying your assistant while we were still together? She replied sweetly. Marcus's smile faltered. And who is this? My boyfriend, she said, sliding her hand up Adrian's arm. Adrian. Marcus stared at him like he was dirt on polished shoes. What do you do, Adrian? I own a bookstore, Adrian replied. Marcus snorted. Of course. Liana's grip tightened painfully. Adrian heard the insult she hadn't voiced. You replaced me with a woman who brings you coffee. And now you want to imply I downgraded. Adrian leaned in, lowering his voice. Is the groom always this insecure? Liana choked on a laugh she tried to disguise. Marcus's nostrils flared. You're not going to last long, Liana. Not everyone will tolerate your intensity. Funny, Adrian said calmly. I quite like her intensity. Marcus turned red. The bride, Amelia, hurried over, fake sweetness dripping from her like cheap perfume. Liana, we're so happy you came, she lied. And with such an ordinary date, Adrian smiled politely. Ordinary is stable. Stable is good. Liana blinked up at him, like she didn't understand why he kept stepping in front of bullets meant for her. Adrian, Amelia said, how long have you two been together? Long enough, he said. She makes my daughter laugh. That's enough for me. The entire table went dead silent. Liana inhaled sharply as if he'd just handed her something she'd never received before. Something that wasn't money, power, or fear. Something softer. But the night wasn't gentle. Speeches began. People got drunk. Old wounds reopened like doors slamming in the wind. Liana kept her posture straight. But Adrian saw her flinch when Marcus's father gave a toast and said, We're glad Marcus found someone simple this time. Success is easier when your partner stays in her lane. Liana's hand trembled. Adrian didn't think, he just placed his palm over hers. You okay? He whispered. Not yet, she whispered back. When dessert was served, Amelia approached with a thin smile. Liana, could we talk privately? Liana stiffened. Adrian squeezed her hand once, quiet reassurance. She nodded. He watched them disappear into a side hallway lined with old portraits. Minutes passed. Too many, too quiet. Adrian stood. Something felt wrong. He followed the hallway shadows until he heard voices, straining, breaking. You think you can just walk in here with a replacement? Amelia hissed. You humiliated us both. I didn't humiliate anyone, Liana said softly. I just showed up. You were supposed to be destroyed after Marcus left. I was, Liana whispered. Just not in the way you think. Then came the sound, the unmistakable thud of someone being shoved against a wall. Adrian's pulse snapped. He stormed around the corner. Amelia jerked back, startled. Liana stood frozen, breath shaking, fingers curled as if fighting memories. Adrian didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He just stepped between them, placing himself where Liana should have never needed protection. We're leaving, he said firmly. Amelia scoffed. You don't get to, I said, he repeated more quietly. We're leaving. His voice carried a weight that made Amelia stumble back. Liana's eyes widened, not at the confrontation, but at the realization that someone was shielding her instead of using her. Outside the night was cold and sharp. Liana's breath fogged in white bursts. I shouldn't have brought you, she whispered. I made a mess of your day. You hired me, he reminded her. This was the job. No, she said, voice breaking. This was something I didn't know how to survive alone. Adrian reached out, gently brushing her trembling hand. Then don't survive alone. She stared at him, like she didn't understand the language of softness. And Adrian, why are you being kind? Because someone should be, he said. Her eyes glistened, but she blinked the tears away. The drive back was quiet until she finally whispered, I didn't just want to show them I moved on. I wanted to prove to myself that I wasn't unlovable. Adrian's heart cracked. You're not unlovable. Liana, you don't know me. Then let me. She turned to him slowly, like she'd never expected anyone to say that to her again. I don't believe in happy endings, she breathed. I don't need you to, he said. Just believe in the next minute. She laughed tearfully. You talk like someone who lost everything. I did, he said. And I rebuilt. Not perfectly, but enough to keep going. She studied him, long, careful, almost afraid. Adrian, she said softly, I asked you to pretend for one day. No. But I don't want you to pretend anymore. The confession hung between them, fragile, terrifying, real. I don't know how to date someone like you, she admitted. Good, Adrian whispered. Then we can learn together. She blinked. Your daughter, she already likes you. Why? Because she sees something I see too. Liana hesitated. What's that? A woman who deserves better than what she's been given. For the first time, Liana Cross looked undone, not by power but by being seen. Truly seen, she exhaled, shaky. What if I mess everything up? Adrian smiled softly. Then we start again. She closed her eyes, letting the words sink in like sunlight she hadn't felt in years. When she opened them, something had changed. Not softened, no, she was still steel. But steel can shine. Okay, she whispered. The word was small, but it was everything. Adrian held her hand not as her fake boyfriend, but as the first man in a long time who wasn't using her or fearing her. And Liana leaned into him, not because she needed protection, but because for the first time she wanted comfort. The wedding lights flickered behind them like dying stars as they walked, away from the life that had tried to break her, and into something terrifyingly new, something that felt like a beginning instead of an ending, something real,